there is a constitutional provision that states that on no account should political parties source funds or hold funds from outside Nigeria. And looking at that as it is, there are a lot of ripples that this is causing, because just recently, I start with you, Romeo, we had a situation where a few days back, some who were reported as kind of sourcing funds for the Labour Party, and Peter Obi. And looking at that as it is, now there's been some dire consequences that this could come up with if political parties, because it's not just only restricted to that party, we have other parties also that need to stay in line to ensure that they don't do anything that would breach that constitution. What do you make of this development?
Well, looking at sources of funds to campaign and all this, it's something that is part of the system. You understand? It's something that is part of the system. But the truth is, I don't really think INEC is going to hold that to the person in charge, as in the person involved. I don't really think so. Maybe it's just cook-up stories.
Yeah, rumors. Yeah,
rumors. I don't really think so, because this is part of politics. You have to raise funds to do campaign. You have to raise funds to do some other things regarding your move, but I don't really think it's a problem. But looking,
you don't think it's a problem because the Constitution says so? There's a provision in the sections of the Constitution.
Yes, I know, but
that states that.
Yeah, I know, but I really don't think it's going to hold him back. I'm looking at it like that. I know the Constitution says that.
Okay.
But I really don't think that would be a big problem as the people are forming it. I think is something we don't really need to focus on, because it's part of the thing.
Of course. Yeah. We don't need to really focus on that.
Yes. I disagree. It's only we should focus on really.
No, because for now they are still sketchy. Yes. And we want to believe that they are rumors.
Yes.
And looking at it as it is, I think political parties should have a very healthy relationship, as the electoral process is ongoing, to make sure that we don't shift our attention from the expected. Because what we expect from political parties now, as they are preparing for their campaigns, is to sell out their candidates, the proper way, their manifestos, to the electorate, instead of monitoring each other in an unhealthy direction, like this may really call for concerns in that regard.
Well, I think that when people talk about Nigeria and maybe more economically developed countries, what people tend to say is that Nigeria, in fact, some clowns call Nigeria, with all due respect, a zoo. They are clowns because they are the animals in the zoo, not we Nigerians. Now, those people who talk down on Nigeria, one of the things they say about Nigeria is that it's a lawless country. That Nigerians, particularly those who are the lawmakers, those who should enforce, the law enforcers, are the ones who break the law. I have seen a police vehicle beat traffic lights. That's a police vehicle who should arrest those who they beat it. I've seen government officials who beat traffic lights. So these are the lawmakers and the law enforcers. They are the ones who. So when people tend to criticize Nigeria, one of the things they say about Nigeria is that we are a country that has the most very beautiful laws, but refuse, whether intentionally or otherwise, to adhere to those laws.
Okay, but if you say that law enforcement agents like the police, for instance, is beating traffic, don't you think that could be a situation where they are in a hot pursuit of criminals?
There's no excuse for it. There can't be an excuse. If there was a special, if they wanted to pursuit, they won't go through where you have a traffic light.
If the criminals go through that?
No. See, in political time, you can say that where does the state manifest? How does the country, how does government affect me and you? Yeah. The key place the government is the law enforcement agencies. Okay. That's, as in, for example, if you are causing an infraction, they come after you. The first point of impact, the major point of impact between the people, the citizens, and the government is law enforcement. So I don't think that. So I'm not particular about the police here.
Okay.
But I'm saying that even the politicians, because my key point is about the politicians.
All right. Okay.
That our politicians even though they are supposed to be the law makers and the law enforcers, are the ones who break the law the most. These people, they go abroad, they obey the law.
Okay, I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you. We're going to be taking a very short break, after which we continue with this conversation. Do stay with us.
TMI, every opinion counts.
Thank you for joining me again on TMI. While we had our break, we were opportunity to be joined by a legal practitioner and the person of Matthias Obayuana. Thanks for joining us, Obayuana. Okay, before the break, you had your comments or remarks on the political parties' campaigns funding.
Yeah, I was saying that, thank you very much. I was saying that the challenge we face is that those who should enforce, those who make laws and should enforce them are the ones who are the chief breaker of laws or abusers of the law. And one of the areas of interest is the issue of election funding. There are provisions, very clear provisions in the Constitution, I think section 225, if I'm not mistaken, and of course the Electoral Act 2022 as amended, sections 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, and then 127, which talk on, the combined reading talks about both the amount of monies political parties can raise, the inability of parties to raise funds from abroad, and then the cap of how much candidates can spend in an election.
Yes.
These provisions, over the years, they are not new. They're not novel provisions. But over the years, they have been abused. You know, they have been flouted. In fact, I remember Professor Atahiru Jega, former INEC chairman, said that at the time they had 579 election infraction cases that they couldn't prosecute.
Wow.
Meaning that these kind of infractions were always, and so Nigeria apparently does not lack the laws. It's a matter of implementation. And one particular example is that now you are seeing that there are some legal interpretations that are acrobatics being played. Whereas the court is clear that votes in an election belong to parties and not candidates, and that candidates are agents of political parties. We are seeing there are attempts at, separating the candidate from political parties. The law says that political parties cannot raise money from abroad.
Of course, yes.
But it does not say that candidates in an election. So there's that attempt now to differentiate between the candidates
and the political
parties. And of course, what applies to all of them is that the candidate cannot spend, a presidential candidate cannot spend more than 5 billion. As an individual for campaign, and then the party cannot spend more than 50 billion. But we know that even in the amount that have been supposed to be raised, 100 billion locally and $150 million from diaspora are well above those provisions. So people, and this is just this is about, let me just say, the third or fourth largest party in Nigeria as of today. It's not even the PDP or the APC, which of course are also going to now take a cue. So we have to find a way to ensure that these infractions are curtailed or penalized, even though the laws, are very lenient, even in the punishment. For example, if you exceed election expenses, the provision is that you'll be fined 10 million naira.
Okay. I think I must thank you for your articulation. Let's get the viewpoint of a legal practitioner. And we see all of this because the sections of the Constitution that spelled it out, which even a blind man will see clearly, that it has to do with political parties, not possessing or holding funds or assets from outside Nigeria. Now, where does the politicians or the candidates come in? Is it strictly for political parties?
Well, the law prohibits funding, receiving funds from foreign
countries.
The mischief behind that is to prevent external influence. The political party receives funds from sources outside Nigeria, and that party wins the election. The tendency is that he who pays the piper,
he takes it
he takes the tune. So we don't know where this money is coming from. So the prohibition is really not outright prohibition. Is that it should pass it through INEC. It's a procedural step to be taken. If you don't want to receive funds from outside, pass it through INEC to the party so that there can be an auditing to actually check the source of that money. and to see whether or not it will affect, it will impact on the government of the day eventually.
You say pass it through INEC to the party.
To the party, yes.
That's what the
So,
constitution
yes,
says.
if you are going to receive, if at all you receive funds from a foreign source.
I think we need to be clear about that.
That source, that yes, check of the constitution.
Okay.
That fund must be routed through INEC. You can't receive funds directly. So INEC will receive the fund maybe through the political party, through INEC the political party.
Okay, but even if INEC later gives the money, the funds to the party,
yes.
Is it not going to be a way of bringing monetization of politics, where it will reduce election to that of the highest bidder?
No, it's to create that check. The government wants to be interested in the source. Where is this money coming from? What is the purpose for which this money is coming? If the money is coming from Nigerians in diaspora, and to political party, and it comes through INEC, the source can be seen. If the money is coming from certain government, maybe terrorist group or any other government that is interested, external force that is interested in the governance of Nigeria, they will also know and say, no, this kind of fund cannot come in. If they want to be the legitimate source, they can permit that. That will create that control. Now, that law especially prohibits political parties. It has nothing to do with politicians. Candidates themselves. That's why you saw President Buhari, when he contested, he solicited funds from abroad. Even though Peter Obi right now is not asking for funds on his own, he's not. It is the campaign structure, that is sourcing for these funds. Look, Nigerians abroad want to donate, want to give their all to these elections because they believe that they have a stake. Because take it or leave it, the diaspora sustains us in this country.
Yeah, the economy. Yeah.
The economy, because you can see the way the economy is subsidized here. There's hardly any home that does not have any person in diaspora. So when things get so rough, we get funding from abroad. So they are interested. They want to also have a free lease of life on their own. And the only way they can have that is to ensure that there's good governance here in Nigeria.
Okay, but again, don't forget we have the provisions of the law that also talks about the amount at which political parties will fund the election. Looking at the candidates, for instance, for the presidency, we have 5 billion.
Party, 50 billion.
Parties 50 billion. Yeah. Now, if all of these funds are coming, what is the probability that this will, it will not exceed that amount, and this will also be under check?
Well, that has been an issue. Sometimes when you make laws, like he has rightly noted, enforceability or implementation of that law becomes another issue entirely. I'm going to see a clear auditing of the fund political party, in the history of this country, to actually check how money came and how it was used, whether it actually exceeded that amount or not. You can see the Dansuki gate. When President Buhari came in, the first attack was that, PDP funds, certain money came in and the money was spent in a manner that was not supposed to be. And then they came out to see that a amount of money laundering and many persons were put in jail and all of that. That happened because he chose to look at that angle. For me, I believe that just on a personal vendetta, if he's really going to scrutinize those sources, how the money came in and how it was used, he should go far beyond that. Even in his own government, the kind of funding that he received in putting himself in power. Talking about bullion van phenomenon.
Of course, yes.
When particularly
that's it fresh to Nigerians.
Yeah, the bullion van.
So we can understand the amount of money that will be kept in a bullion van. Not talking about bullion vans.
You see why I said nothing can happen.
Those things came in and then it just went like that. So you went to Dansuki to be attacking him. What about the bullion van? You close your eyes to that, and it's still happening today. So it is very difficult to actually implement. It is there to act as a check. Don't spend beyond this, because when you have so much money at your disposal, you tend to corrupt the electoral
system.
Because you have already improvised them by your bad governance, and then you now use that as a disadvantage, against them to begin to use the count and stick to give them money for their vote.
Okay.
And they can hardly resist it. Yes. So that's why people are being told now, well, if you cannot resist, it's your money.
Okay.
Take it and vote your
let's look at this. Let's look at this overwhelming money into politics. that could also bring about, because they always say that, you know, it could be for the highest bidder if too much of money is thrown into this. And I think that's why the provisions of the law are trying to guide against this, not to bring about our elections reduced to a point where it's going to be for the highest bidder. Like, you are a party member of the YPP, young political party. Now, what do you make of this in terms of money in politics and parties having all of this to kind of overwhelm the other parties, let me not say smaller parties? So what do you think? Don't you see this as a threat that should be tackled even by the law?
Yeah, it is a threat. You know, party having so much money to buy citizens is a threat. You understand? I think that's why the law is there, you know, just to remind them that this is something you are supposed not to do, but just have a reminder of it. But looking at the fact that party using money to entice voters is something that we really need to abolish, you know, and we really need to tackle. They really need to hold it strong. You know, the law has to really come into this, you know, making sure individual votes are counted. You know, this is one thing that is discouraging a lot of people going out there to cast their vote. They will say, after all, my vote will not count. While some will say, I will just collect the money and, you know, do what I have to do. And this act has to be abolished. But I'm very happy the system is changing, because they are actually saying this coming election is going to be very tight. And if you are caught buying votes, you are gone. If you are caught exchanging money for votes, you are going to go in for it. So let them really work on this.
Okay, but what do you make of this in respect of the laws of the country? You know, fine-tuning the system in a way that this whole money into politics will be restricted, like the provisions that brings about 50 billion naira for political parties to fund elections. Is that not too much?
That one is too much.
As compared to other parties?
Yeah, it's too
because
much.
It seems to restrict it to the so-called, in quote, big parties.
One party and all that. The money is too much. The idea of monetizing politics is really something that is eating everybody, you know, and is killing the system. If you really have good intention, why are you putting money at the front run? Why are you trying to buy people with money? If you really have good intention, let people vote their conscience. Let your activity, let your antecedent, let what you have done speak for you. Not trying to buy vote, try to do this. I think that big system of 50 billion given to political party is a threat. You know, it's a threat, because if a political party have that amount of money in there, now what about those that don't have that amount of money? It's a big threat. So it shouldn't be centered, and I think INEC, they have a lot of work to do regarding this.
Okay.
So that
let's take your viewpoint in this.
Well,
do you feel same?
Well, I think that many people don't know the kind of money that are spent in elections in Nigeria, because what our rule says actually is a cap. It's not as if a lot of parties exceed 50 billion. In fact, in the run-up to primaries, let me give you one small party, with all due respect to the party, ADC. My friend, Kachiku is, no, they are small parties. Kachiku is the candidate. There was an issue he had the national chairman, whom they are trying to house now, that the guy asked, if a party like ADC asking for 2 billion, the national chairman asking for 2 billion, otherwise he will sell the ticket to somebody to another party. You know, 2 billion for ADC. Imagine what, for example, it will cost. And look at the APC and the PDP. To pick a presidential form, not that you will be the candidate to, just to, for a sphere of interest. You're going to spend 100 million for the APC and for the 2.5 million.
I think that's where it starts from.
Yeah. So when you calculate,
because if you spend such a huge amount of money to get
just to get this form,
it means you are going there for business.
And then you are going to lobby the delegates. And you know, in the PDP and the APC, we saw, well, at least for the PDP, we saw evidence of, real money. And even if we didn't see with the APC, we know that they also spend dollars. We know. Even there was no clear evidence, but we saw that with the PDP, and we know that the APC will do the same thing. So when you actually look at the cost of electioneering,
it's quite huge.
Election fund in Nigeria, it's prohibitive. And so those caps are necessary, because, like you pointed out correctly, it's not, if somebody was going to save, the question to ask, why would he bribe you to save you? I want to save.
If you have good intention.
Yeah, why would somebody bribe? So that's where the whole, so I think that the provisions are okay. And then if the Labour Party is hoping to raise 100 billion locally, above the 50 billion, and $150 million externally, which is also above the 50 billion, imagine what the PDP or the APC will be, who have governors, senators, House of Representatives. Imagine what they will be. They will not say it out. Are going to raise. So you are seeing that the whole issue is prohibitively monetized, and it's something we must create as a people. Something we must find a way. The idea that it's your money, collect the money, vote your conscience. I don't think you have a conscience when you are collecting money.
No.
And then if we are complaining about money politics, I think that it is how, if somebody is even offering you money, it's a reason why you should reject his money and vote against him. Rather than, because if he sees that amassing public funds or stealing or corruptly enriching himself and using that money on election day is no more acceptable. People are not collecting money. I saw a video in one community in Ghana a couple of years ago where a politician came with bags of rice and they were throwing it back at
the politician.
You know, it went viral about 4 or 5 years ago.
So if Nigeria's case can mimic that?
Yeah, that is what we should aim at. If we want, what we call political hygiene, if we want to clean our system, make it politically hygienic, what we should do is that as a citizen, which are the critical stakeholders, it is not the politicians, it's not the political parties, it's not even INEC. If the electorates don't come out to vote, there can't be an election.
Yeah.
You can do information, you can campaign if the voters, so the critical stakeholder in any election is the voters. If we are going to have any change, it's going to start from the voters. So we, the voters, must insist, not for us to reach ourselves and say we don't really have conscience, with all due respect, when we do that. So we can reject money politics. In fact, which is why I like the OB initial thing song, which is no shishi. Though it's not shishi now because 100 billion is shishi now. You know, 100 billion or 100 billion naira. So if we were going to
well, I think investigations are on. We don't know about that. I don't know about the 100 billion you're talking about.
It's not in question. It's
yes,
not in question.
Yes. I think we shouldn't even say that because we can't verify that. We can't verify that.
Willing
now, yes, let's
to give their all, their resources to fund that campaign.
Okay.
We are not expecting shishi from Mr. Peter Obi.
Okay, but shouldn't the system set it right in a way that there will be agencies alive to its responsibility to checkmate these excesses so that the provisions can be intact?
Of course, the agencies, the EFCC is there, the ICPC is there, Nigerian police is there.
Are functional because we even had them in the
Even
primaries.
INEC is there.
We had them in the primaries of party elections.
Exactly. There's some money being exchanged, you know, to get delegates to vote for them, dollars for that matter, and no arrest, no prosecution. We saw the Osun election where little girls
were flashing their money,
5,000 naira. You know, to show that they have voted at 5,000 and all of that. No arrest, no prosecution.
Nothing happened.
So they should arrest and prosecute and make a public show
of
such persons, so that
As a deterrent.
that would serve
as a deterrent, yeah.
to others. So the idea of the law being in the papers, oh, we have the laws there. Yeah, there are sufficient laws in this country that are against such things.
Yeah.
even trade debt along the side of the road.
It's an issue. So we must try to implement these laws and ensure that people are made public show of where they commit such offences.
Okay.
But here, we look the other way. We believe that is the way to go. It is difficult because the point that we know, you can reject the money and then vote your conscience. When you collect the money, you're not going to have conscience.
Yes. That's quite a difficult one to do.
In the Edo election, when Governor Obaseki was coming back for second term, people shed money. People took the money
and also voted their
conscience. So if you feel that you believe that we are become so hungry that you could bring your money to buy our consciences, no, it could not work. You bring that money, they will take that money from you and still go ahead and do the right
thing. But is that not an offense which is even breaching the constitution? Because if the vote buyer, the vote seller, they are all the same.
It takes two to tango.
So if you are saying this, it means you are encouraging.
No. At the first instance, if the police choose to load the when they were giving dollars, the AFCC, we are not present, we are not there, can they say that they do not know? When they were giving money in Osun, were they not even in the press? Were they not aware of it? What did they do about it? So the point is that if they beat those checks.
Yes. So there's needs to.
Yes, if they beat those checks, we are telling our people that if people beat those checks, they bring billion vans to election area on the day of election, and the NCC and the police and the ICPC look the other way. The final bus stop is the electorate.
That is the
so if it gets to you that it becomes so obvious, they have brought the money.
And it wasn't checked.
It was not checked. Take the money.
For it to get to you, it means it wasn't checked.
Be sure that you vote your conscience.
Yes.
Be obediently obedient. If you go out there and do the wrong thing,
but is that morally right?
It's up to you.
Is that morally right?
No,
because if you take the money, it's on your conscience. It stains your conscience.
If you take the money, it would have been against your conscience. To say that, oh,
there's no conscience there.
Take that money, throw it at their faces, and the rest of it. We are just speaking from the papers here. In the real practical sense, it's difficult. It's difficult. Somebody brings money to you. It took a lot of discipline for our Lord Jesus Christ.
I'll come back to you.
For our Lord Jesus Christ to reject the offers of Satan. After 40 days of prayer and fasting, Satan came and said, look, you have been hungry. I know you have the power. Turn this stone to bread so that you have power. And he said no.
In his time of need.
In his time of need. So it's very difficult to resist such temptations. When it comes to you, my take is that if they beat the checks, ordinarily they should not even come close to the electoral area. They should. If they beat those checks and the security agencies look the other way for the electorate,
if they have no choice,
it comes to you have no choice. Take it. Be sure that you vote your conscience. You still have a conscience. It's your money. It's part of the stolen wealth. Take it and go ahead and do the right thing.
But we're of the view that it shouldn't even happen. It shouldn't happen. That's what we're saying. We are saying that it should not happen.
It shouldn't happen, but it does happen.
The people should be.
It does happen. It should not happen. Money still pass through those checks. Money still get to a polling station. And we see them hanging around different corners. People are going to go and collect money from them. So it is time to talk to our people. If you believe that way, there are many of them who do not have food to eat. May God bless the soul of the young man who committed suicide recently. You are aware. A Unibank staff who didn't have money to take care of himself. He went begging for money, soliciting for fund. No help. He has a family. He felt the best thing to do was to go and kill himself, which is very wrong.
Very wrong.
He had created more problems for the family.
Yes.
But he was pushed to that situation. As who have been on strike, the government refused to call the strike. He said no work, no pay. And these are people who are dependent on this to sustain their family. Now you don't find the likes of that on election day. You not tell him to you reject it.
It's morally wrong.
Take it, but go there and vote against those who have impoverished you.
Okay. I think I'll come back to you
One
quickly.
line
But
there.
let's get the reactions of Romeo and Ibrahim.
I'm not really happy with this idea of vote buying because it's actually killing our system. Now, nothing is working. Look at, if you go out there, you will see people are suffering. People are dying. We have a lot of things that need focus.
Okay, so you don't succumb to what he's saying, that take it and vote your conscience.
See, it shouldn't happen. Even it shouldn't just happen. They shouldn't let it happen.
But what about if it's unchecked? We say, wait.
Yes.
Don't forget the point he made.
Okay.
If this money now comes unchecked,
Okay.
to the point where they have to be given that amount of money,
Yes.
is it not right for such persons, if at all, they must take it, they take it and also vote their conscience?
Yes, if you are left with no choice. Now maybe you just... Now, first of all, somebody telling you take this 5,000 and vote for me, you already know that person.
But you are left with a choice.
Yes,
you are not left with no choice. You have a choice.
Yeah, you can say, okay, I don't want it. Or you can say, if you really need the money, because some people really need 5,000 to survive.
A lot.
So if you really need the money, you can collect it and vote
out there and do the
vote
right
your
thing.
conscience. Now, some people actually don't know how to look out for their
But the question is it morally right to
Is there a
collect it?
conscience after you have been bought?
See,
That is
this
not
is
buying.
Nigeria.
That is not buying.
This is Nigeria.
You can't buy the people conscience of those individuals.
Some people can
You can't tell me who's
big money.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Wait. Let's get. You started this ripples effect.
Yes.
You started it. So let's get your reaction, Ibrahim.
There are two things to say. One is that a conscience bought is no conscience.
Yes.
There's no way to paint it. Yes. A conscience bought is no conscience.
Yes.
Secondly, is that the checks that we're talking about, the final check is the electorate himself. The electorate is if you have a choice
So
to not collect, and on the basis of that Somebody
Not to
offering
collect.
money.
Has a choice not to collect.
Yes, the final check. You're talking
A
about check.
situation, no. But
A
let's
lawyer will tell you,
be realistic, Ibrahim. Let's be realistic.
Be realistic.
A situation where a man
tell
has not
you,
seen. You just remember the story. You remember what happened, which is true life story of
Yes.
someone that took his life.
Yes,
You know.
No, let's make this.
Now, if
If
such a person is in the polling unit where he's faced with this challenge,
Yes.
he also gave an illustration of the Bible where Christ was tempted in his time of need.
Yes.
So remember all of
The
that.
Christ
What
for-
do you see the voter doing?
Christ for-
Let's be realistic. What
No,
should the
no.
voter do in that respect?
Let us be realistic now.
Yes.
We have been buying and selling votes since 1999 till date. Has the things got better or worse?
Nobody is saying
No.
Nobody says
No,
sell.
you-
If you take the money and you do the bidding, then you're sold.
Wait, would you allow me to make my point?
This is the economy here.
Ibrahim has the floor.
This
Ibrahim
has to be
Ibrahim has the floor.
abolished.
Ibrahim, you have 1 minute to buttress that quickly.
If we have done it, it's kind of madness to do something over and over and over again. And you expect that each time you repeatedly do it, the result will change.
It
That's
will
the kind of-
change.
It's insanity in it. So let's face it. The one in the crime of vote buying is also a crime of vote selling. No two ways about it. The idea that you have a country after you have mortgaged it, it's pure and simple.
But in a situation where that can't change now. That's what he's bringing in.
People are saying
A
that-
situation where that can't change now.
Let me tell
How
you,
do we make things
people
right?
don't-
Happens
it's even
before
at the front.
politically.
To make sure that they don't have their way.
People got money.
When you ask a
They
question,
took their money and voted.
Okay.
their
Oba, Ibrahim has the floor.
allow me to answer the question.
You have less than a minute. You have less than a minute.
Yes. Now the question is this: even if you are going to sell your votes, if you think that 5,000 naira is all you need to survive, how long will it last you?
Nobody's selling.
No, you're not.
You are
I
missing it.
think what he's saying is the act should not just be in process.
Exactly.
They should abolish it.
Exactly.
If they beat the checks, if they beat the checks and bring our money to the polling unit, our money.
He said even if they beat the checks, you should refuse it. That's what he's saying.
Are you not a check on
If they
yourself?
beat the
Are you not a
checks,
check? Are you not
you
a check?
should refuse it.
Are you not a check? Am I not a check?
No. Ibrahim has a background. Ibrahim has a background. You know,
I'm a check
some
too now.
persons
I'm
are
not-
wired
I'm
that
not a
way.
stakeholder.
Even if they are hungry,
It has to be-
they will never do wrong.
It has to be-
And that's exactly what Ibrahim is saying.
And
So,
people
but
say they are
Ibrahim
Christ-like.
forgets that it's not everyone that is like him. Not everyone that is like you. All right.
Because he's able to sustain
All right. Not to make it rowdy. Not to make it rowdy. Big thanks, Ibrahim. Big thanks, Romeo. Big thanks, Oba Iwana.